أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to our discussions on living with messengers. So far this semester we have been looking at verses from Quran that gives us examples of how messengers live, act, so that we can get some guidance from them for our day-to-day life. But today, let's take a step back and question the messengers themselves, like following the messengers, how essential it is, or is it essential? Where is it located in our lives? Are there, why not anybody else but messengers? So these sorts of questions that we will try to ask and make dua for receiving answers to those questions. And as you know, it is one of the pillars of belief in messengers, and also like it is the second wing of the shahada, witnessing of belief, which is, so the first part is I bear witness that there is no God but God. But then the second part is, and Muhammad والسلام, is his servant and his messenger. So as if it is as important as belief in God. But how come? Why this is the case? And if it is so important, it must have such an important effect in my day-to-day life, because if I think about belief in God, I cannot think otherwise, really. So my worldview is going to go upside down if I take it away. The world is going to be dark. Everything is going to change. If I say belief in God disappears from my world, then everything would change for bad, not for good. But how about the other side of Shahada, the belief in messengers? How necessary, how important it is that, and apparently it must be the way that it's being presented in Quran, but why and how? So this would be the main gist of our conversation today, inshallah. And for our discussion, these are the two verses that I would like to go through today. These are from Surah Al Imran, the third chapter of Quran, and verse numbers 31 and 32. So, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Say, O Prophet is from context we put in here. Say, if you love God, follow me, and God will love you and forgive you your sins. For God is much forgiving, a dispenser of grace. Wallahu ghafurur rahim. He is much forgiving and dispenser of grace, merciful. قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. Say, pay heed unto God and the messenger, or obey God and the messenger. But if they turn back, Allah does not love those who reject faith, or those who are covering the truth, al-kafirin. So these are the two verses that we will take to the center. There are other verses and also like hadith. There was a hadith which says, the Prophet says, and it's in Bukhari, if you don't love me more than your mother and father, you wouldn't have believed. So loving, if you don't love messenger more than you love your mother and father, then you wouldn't have believed. Your belief is not going to be complete. Or I forget if it's about complete or you wouldn't have believed, but one or the other. And there is another verse which says, if like your children, your wife, or your property are more dear to you than God and his messenger. And then the rest of the verse says, have a threatening tone. So it looks like the relationship of love of messenger or following messenger is being highly regarded in Quran. Well, why is it so? This would be our conversation today. Does anybody have any comments or questions before we get into? I would like to hear if you have any in general. Maybe you have thought about the matter. Maybe you are also having some issues with this topic. So if there's anything before we get into the discussion, I would be more than happy to hear, so that the discussion is going to be more focused. Any comments? Any questions? Not so far. Okay. So then let's go with the first verse. So it says, if you love God, follow me and God will love you. So this verse is putting following the messenger in between loving God and receiving love of God. But before getting into follow me part, I would like to ask the question, what is love of God? Does anybody in here love God? Let me first see if you can put a check mark if you love God. You can put a cross if you don't love God. Let me see who is. And there is no option of not saying anything, people. Participants, looking for your votes. Yes. If you are loving God, put a yes mark. If you don't love God, then put a no mark. Atik says he loves God. Good. Anybody else? What are the rest of the people thinking? They are neutral to the topic. Okay, Birkantunç says he loves God. We have 2 people. How about the rest? Okay, Mariam says she loves God. Good. Okay, there are 2 more participants that didn't cast their votes, and they are from the same household, which makes it more suspicious. Okay, let's give them benefit of doubt for now. And let's start with Atik. He says he likes God. Don't know if I reached the level of love yet, he says. Okay, then let me ask you, Atik, since you were the first fish to come to my bait, what do you mean by liking God? And what does it mean to reach the level of love of God?
So sure. I aspire to love God, but I believe that I have not attained that level or that relationship with God because of my own limitations and me disobeying God a lot.
But what does it mean to love God? So when you say I love God or I like God, what do you mean by that?
By that I mean, well, putting what he wants for me above what I want for me.
So do you love your mother?
I do.
So what sort of a feeling is that, if it's explainable?
I would say it's about caring, showing expressions that you care, about them.
And why do you love your mother?
I don't know, man. I could explain it, she took care of me when I was young and this and that, but maybe there's just something deeper in there. Something intrinsic that we all sort of love our mothers.
So, like, if your mother was an abusive mother, let's try to define love here a little bit so that maybe we can identify what it means to love God, right? So, if your mother was an abusive mother, let's say, still maybe she was giving you some food, but she was beating you to death since your childhood, how would you feel? Just imagining it a little bit. Something would get hurt in your relationship to your mother relative to it is right now.
I think that would have an impact on the way I see my mother. I would say I probably still would love her, but it would be different.
Yeah.
It'd be tainted.
Yeah. Because I guess this we are hearing such stories more for maybe fathers, like abusive fathers coming home drunk, beating the children, and the child, especially after an age, they get fed up since this happens again and again. They don't see that compassion that they see from the mother. They would expect to see the same from the father, but because of maybe abuse, drug abuse, whatever, the father is not demonstrating that. And the child is growing with the hatred towards father, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like there is a reason for the child to love mother. So there is something that the child appreciates in mother, like mercy, caring, this tenderness, or also mother loving the child. All these feelings are the things that make us appreciate our mothers, right? So we have a very valid and good reason to love our mothers. I guess in general, we love things. This is for mother, for instance. If it was, I don't know, think about your teachers that you like. You don't like someone for no reason, right?
No.
So think about the teachers that you like. What made them more likable to you?
I don't know if I can explain exactly what it is, but they maybe they touched me in a certain way. I can appreciate aspects of them or what they do.
Yeah, maybe they were more caring towards you. They were taking the extra mile to answer some of your questions outside of class. Or maybe some of them were funny. But
Yeah.
there were some quality that you appreciated in that person. And it became sort of a reason for you to get attached to that person to a certain extent. So then when we say love of God, what is it that we love in God? Or who is God that we are saying that I love God? While saying that, I see a note from H. Beza. She says, I think there are degrees, but I would say to strive to be content and at peace with my existence equals a degree of the love of God. So, reading it again, striving to be content and at peace with my existence. So, HBS, if I may ask, why being content and being at peace with your existence is equal to loving God? Like you exist, you're content. What does it have to do with loving God?
Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're able to hear me okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, if, as I said before, there are degrees, but I can't love anything that, I guess, first and foremost, that I don't know about. So if I don't know the existence of something, I can't really love it. And after knowing of it, I have to get to know it. So, if they say Bob is great, he's so trustworthy and he makes really nice cupcakes, that those are things to like Bob off of. But at the same time, the more I familiarize myself with Bob, the more I can get to love him. So when I was saying here, being at peace with my existence, like it's one thing to say, okay, there must be a source of existence, right? But it's another, further trying to develop my relationship with the source of my existence. I have to, as I further go down that path of investigating and journeying and experiencing existence, if I find that I am at not at rest, or if I'm not at peace, with my existence, then it would become contradictory to say that I love God. That is not to say, however, I think what I specifically said striving to be content, because there's a difference between, living in a conscious state of being content at all times, and then also striving for that contentment, I think can go hand in hand with the love of God. But, the other side of the coin is that if I'm not at peace, or if I don't know about who God is, and if I think I know, or if I claim to know God, but I'm not at peace with my own existence, then I don't think I would be able to claim that I love God. With like the mother or the teacher example, if I'm not happy with the way the teacher is teaching me, for example, or with the assignment that if I'm or something, despite my trying, for example, then, or if I don't go to class and I don't get to know my teacher, then it becomes very difficult to have that sort of relationship. So that's where I was kind of getting at. I guess it's kind of twofolded.
Good, very good. But can you explain a little bit more why, if you are content with yourself, why would you love God? Why don't you love yourself? Let's say if you are smart, if you are talented, if you are beautiful, these are your qualities. You should just look at the mirror and admire yourself. Why do you say I love God for that?
Good question, Brother Yusuf. I guess, more fundamentally, when I see these particular qualities, um, if I say, oh, I'm so talented in this thing, or I'm so great in this thing, deep down, I think if we ask each individual, there's a sense of anxiety that comes from either a sort of, like, maybe I did so great at school, maybe I wrote a really great paper, or I don't know, I did something great at my job and I got some recognition, but I cannot guarantee the continuation of that recognition, let alone claim any sort of authority or ownership over the qualities, like, being able to think, existence itself, consciousness, all of these different qualities. I can't really claim ownership over it. So at first, I guess I have to be aware that, for if there's God for me in the picture, then I have to say, are there other things that I'm also putting next to God that I think are the where that quality or that authority or that power or that consciousness is stemming from. So are there multiple gods in my life? Whether that one other god might be myself. Maybe I think I'm so great or something. And so once I conclude that God must be absolute in his nature, and that there's no causal relationship within the universe, and that everything directly looks to him, in my investigation of that, then existence directly is tied. The created is directly tied to the creator. Existence is tied to the existence giver. I can't sort of apply any sort of superficial severance to that relationship. I mean, I can, but I'd be, delusional, or I'd be tricking myself. But the two are tied together. So to be at peace with my existence is directly tied to being at peace with my creator, who is AKA the existence giver.
So then can we say that, let's say, me being a miserable man, but there's like this perfect tailor who designs and sews a perfectly fitting cloth for me. And I wear this cloth and get in front of the mirror, and I really like the way it fits on my body. I really start looking much more beautiful or handsome than I used to look. So in this case, what I appreciate in this scene, this is of course an example, is I really love the way that it fit over my body, the way that it made me now look much more handsome and beautiful. So I'm appreciating those qualities. I can take an attitude saying that I am handsome, I am beautiful, look how beautiful I am, and attribute this beauty to myself. Or I can say, no, yes, now I look beautiful, but this beauty does not belong to me. This beauty is visible on me because I am wearing this cloth. And this cloth is designed and tailored by this designer, this tailor. So then my love for this design, the design that is being manifest on me actually, is coming from the skillful artist, this tailor. So the beauty, the thing that I love was in the tailor, but as if the tailor put it outside or cast it or projected it over me, and now I am loving this beautiful cloth. But when I'm loving the cloth, actually, in reality, I am loving the art and beauty that is being projected or manifest on me. So in reality, if I am conscious and if I don't mix up things, if I don't say, yeah, I am loving my beauty because that beauty was not there before, which means it's not my beauty. So then actually I'm loving the beauty of that designer because the designer, the beauty came from the designer. So when I say I love whatever is observable on me, in truth, in fact, I am saying that I love him. I love the designer. So if we just extrapolate this example, whatever we love in this existence, it might be a beautiful sunset, it might be a rose, anything that is appreciable by me. If I am conscious, to the extent that I am conscious, what is it? Who is it that I am loving really? So as H. Beza was putting it into words, she said, if I am conscious, aware, or the way she put it was actually, if God is in picture for me, the way I understand from that term is, if I'm, to the extent that I conclude that my talent, my strength, my handsomeness, whatever, these are the things that I really like, that I really enjoy. But to the extent that I realize that they are not from me, but they are being given to me here and now. And right this moment, I'm having this healthy skin and my lungs are okay. But within a moment or two, I can just start choking, or a disease can come, anything can happen. We all know that. So at this moment, health is being given to me. The thing that I love, the thing that I appreciate, which is health, is being given to me. So I love being healthy. But what do I mean when I say I love being healthy? In a sense, I am saying that the health that I observe, that I taste, is a, now I'm going to use a religious term, manifestation of the health giver, giver of health. So in a sense, if I read carefully all the things that I love, that I like, I will realize that, including my love for my mother, my love for my child, for my wife, these are all because I'm observing something beautiful, appreciable in there. But none of them are the owners of those qualities. So loving things, actually, to the extent that I am conscious of it, is love of God. And I think this is what this verse is maybe starting with. It says, if you love God, although in fact what you love must be God, but are you loving God when you love your child, or are you fancying that God is there, a separate thing, and your child has this cuteness by herself? The cuteness belongs to the child, and child got this cuteness from you. You got it from your parents, all the way to the beginning, and then, oh yeah, there was Big Bang, and God made this explosion. So like there's this sort of a distance between God and the rest, if I have such an understanding. But just so as not to cause confusion, I guess at this moment I need to make a disclaimer. This doesn't mean that I am God or my child is God or anything of this sort. Not that, definitely not. But what I mean by that is, as whatever is being observed on me is from God, must be from God, actually, because I know that it's not from me, and it's not from any of the things that I experience. It's not from the water that I drink. It's not from the sun. It's not from the moon or anything of this sort. So this is what I understood from love of God. I saw other hands, Brother Birkan, Mariam, would you like to add anything? What do you understand, since you both also said that you love God? Would you like to add anything on that? Brother Birkan?
Jazakallah khairan. So let's start with the addressee of this verse. So we can take the shortcut, which would be, I guess, true in one sense, and say that, okay, this verse is talking about the people who already know about God, loving Him, or at least have a certain relationship with God already. And as a next step, this verse is saying that, okay, since now you are in love with God, so here is the next step in your progression. And now you should follow prophet, or you should follow whoever is carrying this message to you. We can take this path, I guess, and as I said, it would definitely take us somewhere, and probably it would have a truth in it. But also, I guess there's another path that we can take, in which we read this verse as talking to, just like any other verse in Quran, talking to everyone. Everyone meaning even those who think, you assume that they are not believers. They don't know about God. And Quran is saying in an interesting way that if you have been loving God, right? There's also kuntum, which kind of gives this, the range between, or it spans between what is present and what is before. You always loved God, or you've been having, you have been loving God, kind of. And then there's the second part. So as if the verse, by the way, like when Quran says if, I usually try to read it as since this is so. rather than a condition. It's, I guess, rhetoric, rather than just saying, if you love God, you do this. If you don't love God, okay, you are okay, you can skip this verse and go to the next one. Rather than that, I guess it should be read as, since this is so, since you love God, since you have been loving God, since you always loved God, and you should do this. And as you were also discussing, you, Hatice, Beyza, other contributors, that love of God is somehow related to love of everything else we, love. As if verse is telling us that you've been always searching for love. And the love you've been searching for, it's not satisfied by anything you tried. Because your love is not for apples, your love is not for chocolate, your love is not for mother or father or daughter. But your love is for God, Allah. This is what your love is for. You've been loving God, you've been loving Allah. Although most of the times you've been unconscious of it, or you've been denying it. This is what you are looking for. The only thing that you can satisfy your heart, only thing that can satisfy your, the search for love, that can answer search your love, is love of Allah. This is the only thing. Hence, therefore, you should follow this message and the one who carries this message. Like these examples, for instance, you talked about this abusive mother or a teacher who is not, a good teacher. They are really, actually, like from another perspective, like one perspective, they are really great examples, because even when you have an abusive mother, you cannot just say, okay, my mother is abusive, so I don't have anything to love, so I don't have my love for my mother. It's not that simple, is it? Like, we know that the people who have abusive mothers, they're struggling for their entire life, because something that they are looking for is not satisfied, even momentarily. You cannot just say, there is no object worthy of love. My mother she's abusive, so I don't love her. Oh, really? You will be dying for finding this love from your mother, even when she is abusive. Your teachers, when you don't, when they are not worthy, you cannot just say, do you know what? They are not worthy, I don't love them. It's not that simple. You will try to find another object that would satisfy this love, because it's there in you. You cannot get rid of it. It's not conditional. If you love your mother, oh, my mother is abusive, I don't love, you can skip. It doesn't work like this. When Quran says, if you love your mother, it means, Birkan, I know deep inside you have this search for compassion, the love for compassion. You're looking for it. In the context of this verse, you're looking for love of God, something absolute, which is, will satisfy your entire desires, that cannot be satisfied by any other thing. This is so. This is the case, Birkan. Therefore, follow the messenger. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you. So then, just to summarize, love is already there, as if the verse is reminding me that all the loves that you have, it's the proper address of this love is already God. The things that you love, you were actually loving the Creator so far anyways. And as if this verse is reminding me of this true address of my love, although it is scattered all over the universe. I love sun, I love my family, I love my youth, I love eating chocolate, this and that. As if this verse is saying that these are, you need to see beyond. It's not the apparent thing that you are loving actually. In fact, you are loving God. And God in this case, meaning, just to open it up, the giver of all of these, let's put it this way. In my previous example, the giver of that cloth, the designer, is the one that I am loving really. Because when we say loving someone, what first comes to our mind is this person with flesh and bones. But even after that person with flesh and bone dies, like after your parents die, your love doesn't disappear. And it looks like, definitely your mother is going to change her body once or twice a year, right? The cells are renewing. So the one that you loved 1 year ago is not in front of you anymore. It's a totally newly made human being right now because the whole material is changed. So when we say I love someone, actually it is the qualities that we love. So when I say I love this designer, I am loving this designer because of the clothes that that person designed and how it looked on me, right? So likewise, I love red roses, I love sunrise, I love sunset, I love taking a deep, fresh breath of air, for example. So who is the maker of all of these though? So because they themselves are manifestations of a beauty. So in reality, I am loving the one that gives me this fresh air, this cold water to drink, this just livelihood is, for all of these, I love God. But now this verse is, the ending part of the verse talks about God will love you. Am I interested in being loved by God also? What do you think? Before talking about the middle part, follow me. If we split this chunk of the verse into three, like if you love God, follow me, God will love you. Let's divide it into three. We talked about the first part. Now let's talk about the third part. God will love you. What does it mean that God will love you? God will love me. Am I interested in God loving me? If God loves me, how am I going to know it? Let's say if there's a girl that I would like to attract her attention, your future wife or husband. And yeah, if you are putting investing in that love, definitely you want to be loved, especially in this sort of a relationship. And you would like to know if that person loves you. So if you send a WhatsApp message, you will keep checking if it gets blue, did that person read it? Or you can constantly check their status if they change their status to something related to the text message you sent. I mean, all sorts of stupid things that a lover does, just think about them. But in reality, what does it mean that in my relationship with love, do I want to be loved? And there's the first question. If I do want, then how would I know God loves me? What do you think, people? Yes, now I am seeing that there is a change of names, Aisha Nur and Abdurrahman. So this "and" is a connecting sign in there, sign of love, I guess. So what do you guys think? What does it mean that God will love you? Are you interested in that? No. Okay. So let's make voting again. Let's go to fishing. Whoever wants to be loved by God, put a yes sign, please. And whoever says, I don't care, put a cross. Okay, it looks like 3 people wants to be loved by God. Since Aisha Nur and Abdurrahman, Ahnaf is also, good, good. Everybody wants to be loved by God. So you must have a reason. Aisha Nur and Abdurrahman, would you like to give us your reason? Why do you want to be loved by God? You were the first to put the yes sign. Yes, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. So you caught me, I guess, off guard. I didn't have like thoughts, but so yeah, I feel this need in me to be loved by God that exists when you ask that question. And why do I feel this need? Well, I want things to go well for me. I want to feel comforted. I want to feel, just like I want to feel the warmth of my mother's mercy. I would like to feel the mercy of my Creator. And I don't want it to be the opposite. Like, I don't want to feel my mother's wrath. I don't want to feel my Creator's wrath either. I don't want to think that he's punishing me or he's being cruel with me. I want to feel the love. I don't want to feel the cruelty. And what does this mean maybe more practically is, I think that just we need to be very honest with ourselves, and we need to always like be very, I guess, going back to the main point of like, why are we here? Like, why am I alive? When I experience, let's say, and this is not something we really experience, but let's say you experience hunger and can't find food, maybe you think, why am I alive? Why have I been created in such a state? Is it like a torture for me? And in our lives, generally, we see that, yes, if I ask anyone, like, is there something wrong with your life? Could you change it? Probably they would say yes. Like, I mean, if you ask me, I'd definitely say there are like some of these things that seem bad in my life, like, going from workplace to other things. And I would, if I focus on those, my life might, and if I only explain that to you, my life might seem terrible. But on the other hand, there's a million things, or there's unlimited amount of things that are so good in our lives that we neglect or that we don't focus on. So, it's very contradictory. It's like impossible to say that the one that gives you all these great things, but then also gives you a few like discomforts that you feel. This one hates you or is being oppressing to you or cruel to you. So we have to be honest with that. Speaking to myself, I have to be honest with that, and not just come to the conclusion that God is being cruel to me or does not love me. So yeah, those are just.
So now that I have time to think, since I was interrupted, I went to the microphone.
Stalling.
Yeah, he was stalling. I'm thinking, I guess one of the reasons why it's so difficult to answer this question is because the will, I guess, will love you as if it's something that's going to happen. That's the result of my loving him. It's weird to me because it seems like the sequence, in a sense, is a little messed up. Like if we think about it in terms of a mother, right? I experience the compassion of my mother. I experience her love, which makes me love her. But then I ask her, do you love me too? Even though, I already know it. The reason I'm asking is, the reason I want her to love me is because I love her, but that love of her was caused by her loving me. So, I experience compassion, mercy, like many wonderful things that I attribute and try to attribute to my Creator throughout my life and day. And so I already feel loved by God, but it's more, I think for me, it's more of a matter of how can I express, how can I make him almost, pardon my wording, but make him content with me as a created being, or attain his contentedness over, because I'm very content with him and I want to express that. Or in a sense, I guess, in what way can I fulfill the purpose of my existence? Because fulfilling that is, I would say, God loving me, because that's, he gave that purpose to begin with. So I don't know if any of that's clear, but there's some strangeness situation.
So it looks like it's hard to say why, but as if there is a feeling, it's something that I just feel that the one that I love, I want to be loved by that person too. As if, why do I need water? If I ask that question, you would say, well, I am meant to need water. I didn't choose to need water. I am being created or given existence in a way that I am in need of water. There's no why for that, really. It is just an observation about myself. I am in need of water. This is how I am made. So, and it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, people, I am in need of love. I want to be loved. I don't know why, really, but I want to be loved. I want to be appreciated. And actually, for just that, like, in order to be appreciated, maybe we are getting into a lot of measures. We are taking a lot of stress, a lot of burden, just to hear from someone that we appreciate to tell us that, oh, you are great. I admire you. Let's say we put our titles, whatever titles we have, to our Twitter, that small line in there, I am this and that. So I am someone to be admired, love me, admire me. Or I share my good achievements. Why do I do that? I try hard to achieve them. And once I achieve them, I just declare them to people. It looks like I want to be loved. I want to be admired. Why? I don't know that if anybody has an answer to that why question. I would love to hear that answer. So I'm looking if anybody wants to make a comment about that. Aisha and Abdurrahman, if this is not a new hand, I'm looking for new hands.
It wasn't a new hand, but I'll
Okay.
say this, I guess.
Okay.
I think you're right. Like, everyone has the desire to be loved, and whether that desire manifests in their Twitter titles or other ways, it, I think, essentially comes down to wanting to feel that one is valuable, that one has value in their life, that their existence is not meaningless. And usually love received by something, anything, even a kitten or a cat, makes one feel that value, that everything is not for naught. So I think it's about value.
Then if at this moment I ask the question, is there any value do I have inherently that is worthy of love? Because in our previous conversation, we said that anything that I love on me in my environment is from him, is from the creator. So anything worthy of love or praise is due to him. So yet at the same time, I want to be loved, which means if I did the first part right, now I should be also arrived to a conclusion that I don't have anything in myself to be loved anyways. So I'm not worthy of love because there's nothing in me to be loved. Yet I want to be loved. So what sort of a contradiction is that?
I would say that I'm worthy to be loved precisely because there is nothing of me that's mine. Because everything is reflecting and given from him, it makes every single part of me lovable.
Then, good. So there's nothing in me that can be on me, that can belong to me, that is worthy to be loved. Yet I have this desire to be loved. So now at this moment, there seems to be a problem, and I need to solve that problem. And this is why what apparently this verse is addressing. It says, if you love God, I'm going to show you a way that it will make you reach God loving you. So still the middle is blank. And it looks like we are now interested in hearing what is in the middle. Because I love God, I want to be loved by God, because being loved by others is not helping really. Because if my mother loves me, I know that my mother is going to die. Maybe I'm going to die before her. But anyways, the case is, it's not the type of love that's going to satisfy me. And eventually you sense this once you attain something. And even such a love is so fragile, like your mother loving you, if you just don't follow, Aisha Nur Abdurrahman says, I don't want conditional temporary love. And although love of parents to their children are generally presented in the literature as unconditional love, you still sense that if you just don't do exactly your parents want you to do, you will sense that the love disappears or just lessens. Because if you ask your mother now, like at an older age of yours, when they are small kids, parents say, yeah, I love all my children equal. But as children grow older, they say, oh, I love my son more, I love my daughter more. And especially if it's like a what's it, this more masculine oriented Eastern culture, boys are being loved more by parents. So it's like a myth that children, love of parents to children is unconditional. Definitely there is a condition in there too. And yes, we are in need of a love which doesn't disappear. So I am in need of love. And the love that I am in need of is a love which doesn't disappear. And such a love does not exist on earth. No created being can give me this love. So the question is this like a problem which can never be solved? Am I doomed to suffer? How do I love God? And if I realize if I can attract love of God to myself, or realize that God is loving me, I'm going to reach eternal bliss, really. How do I do that? Yes, Atik asks a question. It seems the love by God, as mentioned in this verse, is conditional, however. He says, after Aisha Nur's comment or Abdurrahman's comment, I don't want conditional temporary love. So Atik says, it seems like this love of God, God loving me, is conditional. Yes, it's conditional. That's correct. Because right now, I know about the first part of the story, right? I love God. Let's assume after our conversation from the beginning, let's say that to some extent I reach the conclusion that I love God, meaning that everything that I appreciate, that I love, is coming from Him. I recognize this, and then I love and caress my daughter. Actually, the feeling in me that's just burning in there, I realize that this is love for my God, not for my daughter. The thing that I love in my daughter is coming from my Creator. So I love Him. Let's say I established this. But also I would like to be loved by my Creator. I want to feel that love, because you know what it means to feel love of your mother or feel love of your wife. You know when it happens, right? But as Abdurrahman was saying, do I feel that God is loving me? Maybe I'm going through some hardship, and at this moment, I feel like, is He really loving me? Because if He loves me, what sort of a love is that? Why am I suffering? Might be a question that's going through my head, right? I was expecting that life is going to be all as if walking on red carpets. Everything is so smooth and beautiful, but it's not. So how do I know that God loves me? Is he unconditionally loving me? It doesn't look like, or I don't feel it. I mean, even if he loves me, I'm not aware of it. So what good this love is for me? Because, yeah, Ahnaf raised his hand. Please go ahead, Ahnaf.
Yeah, the fact that you mentioned Allah is Al-Wadud, so he's unconditional lover. However, there's a thing called a tough love. So, there's some situations that we go through in life that I personally I learned from. I'm just gonna give you an example. For example, we had numerous, like the president-elect at this point, right? He went through some really tough times in his life, and that has prepared him, to take the position that he has taken right now, right? The resilience that he has learned when he lost his wife and kids in the car accident, for example, or his son, right? So that those experiences, those tough love from Allah, has prepared him for the office that he's about to take. So, like, I was just trying to say that.
Yeah, but even in that, even in the example that you gave, so in the event itself, we are not able to observe love. Maybe eventually we say, okay, good will come out of this. But at the moment of this toughness, still it doesn't look like, it's nasty, right? We don't like it. So, but even at that moment of problem, how do I see that I am being loved? Even at the moment of challenge or toughness? Because if you think about messenger, now let's take topic to the messenger. Although messenger is considered to be Habibullah, the beloved of God, and this is an important part, I guess this is really the crux of our discussion. Although he is the beloved of God, he was stoned in Ta'if, for instance. And he was not in Ta'if for a touristic visit. He was in there for inviting people to the message, actually, he was inviting people to be cognizant of God loving them. But people cast stones at him. So in such a case, just put yourself in there, or even not put yourself, maybe we cannot imagine ourselves in the shoes of the messenger, but imagine yourself as an observer in that environment. So wouldn't you say, this person is supposedly the beloved of God, and look at the condition he is in. Like, he is being put in such a shameful condition. I mean, it's a shameful condition. It's a bitter condition. He is bleeding. So where is God? Where is love in here? I don't observe love in there. But this was not the case from inside. The messenger himself was able to observe love in that condition too, because he was not angry with the people. He was still asking from his creator for his mercy towards those people. So even in those hardship, how do I see or recognize that I am being loved by creator? This would be the question. Now, let me bring the discussion to the messenger then. Why following the messenger is the key, or the bridge, if you like, between me loving God and then me recognizing that God is loving me? What is the relationship of love of or following messenger doing in here? What do you think? And to make it, like, to increase contrast, is it something like, let's say you love a girl and the girl says, if you want me to love you, you need to take the Boston Marathon, run for 26 miles, and become among the first 10, then you are going to gain my heart. Then I will love you. This is my condition. Is this sort of a thing? God says, if you love me, follow this person, then I will start loving you. Like something which has nothing to do, like girl loving you has nothing to do with you getting into taking the 10th position in the Boston Marathon after taking, like, you need to train for a year, then get to that marathon, run constantly within a certain pace. And then after you show that you can take extra measures for that girl, then okay, the girl will say, okay, now I start loving you. Is it that sort of a thing? Do you think? What's your opinion? Or is it something else? Why is creator putting this condition? Ahnaf, I think this is an old hand, is it? Or if it's a new hand, let's hear from Ahnaf. If not, from Atik. Atik, go ahead.
I'm just gonna voice some rough opinions or thoughts, but yeah, we are told in this ayah to follow the prophet, or see him as a blueprint to attain God's love, and a basic understanding of who the prophet is that he is the beloved of Allah, and it was sent to mankind or everything to spread mercy. And so for us to embody his characteristics, we can become more beloved in God's eyes, right? And I would say the distinction between this and your marathon example is that running a marathon really helps nobody. It doesn't help the girl. It might help you in terms of physical fitness, but I don't know how important, it's not really necessary to train for a marathon to have physical fitness, but to follow the prophet, that is inherently beneficial to ourselves. Obviously, it doesn't help God in any way. He doesn't need anything from us. But for us to realize our own potentials or to become the best versions of ourselves, or adorn ourselves with the best qualities, we need to follow his example.
So, yes, but what do we mean by being best of ourselves? Because along with our previous conversation, we said we don't own any good qualities in the first place. So, for instance, if you gain some muscles, you would say, well, these muscles are also manifestation of the creator. So ultimately, whatever good quality we say we can put on ourselves, actually our best bet is, if we are talking about being the best of humans, is to realize that it doesn't belong us. And I think this is what Messenger achieved. So if we were to define who the messenger is the person who is, and this is why we say, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. First and foremost, he was the abd. Like he was the person who recognized that to the fullest extent possible for a human being, that he is not smart, he is not handsome, he is not strong, he is not any of these. But he is being given handsomeness, he is being given intellect, he is being given strength, and he is being provided at every moment. So if I get this understanding, and if I realize that I am constantly being provided, because we started with the example of child-mother relationship. So again, taking this as an example, a mother is, especially in the earliest days of our life, so sensitive about caring for us, feeding us, giving us the milk, or when you sleep, take, like, in the middle of night, babies wake up 6-7 times, She keeps taking care of us 24/7. So to the extent that I realize I am vulnerable like a baby, I don't own any power. I don't have anything in here to claim that I am capable. But constantly, 24/7, I am being provided. I'm being provided with intellect, I'm being provided with strength, with youth, with health, this and that. So that means without my maker, I am nothing. So I am a servant, I am an abd in the sense that I own nothing. So this recognition makes me realize that I am being constantly provided. And being constantly provided mercifully is demonstration of love of God to me. With that, I will realize that I am being loved. This is why I am being provided constantly. But what is going to remove that love from me if I start taking those qualities as they belong to me, they are mine, then I would start loving myself. Because if they're not given to me, then they're mine. So I will start loving myself. I will not start because I consider myself to be smart. It's my quality. It's not given to me. So why shall I be loving someone for giving me intellect if I think intellect is already mine? Nobody gave it to me. So this is why prophetic way is to realize that I am an abd. So Muhammad والسلام, was the archetype of this recognition. He is, if you like, the best, as Atik was putting, best of man, but in the sense of realizing that he is nothing. He doesn't have any qualities. And actually, this is the best degree a human can reach, recognizing that I don't own anything and that I am constantly being provided. Why does he provide me? Why does he give me? So this state is making me realize that I am being loved. So as we are coming to end of our times, I think these verses require more discussion maybe next week, but this had been a little bit too abstract maybe. Now let's take it to practical, because I put the picture of Masjid al-Nabawi in the slide. We are talking about a real human being. So that person really walked on earth. So a person who is having this mindset of, I don't own anything, I am being constantly provided, somebody with this perfect understanding of this actually lived, and he walked on earth. He lived among people. He practically showed how such a person would exist. So I think this is where follow me part gets into the picture. Because we can talk for hours and hours in here about this abstract idea of how to reach an understanding of abdness, like this recognition of I don't own anything. But how do I put it into your day-to-day life? So for instance, now I am seeing Ahnaf's name in the list. If I'm having this conversation with Ahnaf, it's a different sort of an experience, having a conversation with another human being. How do I experience being in that mindset of I don't own anything in this sort of a conversation, in this sort of a friendship, for instance? How do I do that? Because this is how it is in our classes, right? It is one thing to study the theory of some idea. We can be quite convinced about how it works. And actually, I'm going to give you a funny example from myself. When I first came to US, my friends were suggested going to an ice rink for making this ice skating. I have never done it in my life before, but I have watched people doing ice skating, like they are dancing over the ice, right? So I said, yeah, let's go. And since I know how it works, I said I can do it. And my friends, they didn't know it either. But once they were on ice, they are just like this, trying to move their foot. They are just trying to stand still without falling. But me, thinking that I already solved the problem here, I started trying to just do those actions, like 3 times turning around yourself. But in order to turn 3 times after jumping in the air, of course, you need to get some speed, right? So I was trying to start getting that speed, and immediately, I was upside down several times. And there were around maybe 200 people that day in that ice rink. One of the workers from the ice rink came to me and gave me a helmet saying that, man, you're going to kill yourself. Be careful. So apparently I was quite obvious around the people that this guy is crazy. So just theorizing or being just, let's say, intellectually convinced about something is not enough. This is what I'm trying to say. It requires some practice, or hands-on experience is required. This is why we would like to get to know someone who have some experience in applying this, going through some details of, oh, I tried and failed about it, don't go that direction, but take this other direction. This sort of more intimate human sort of training is required. So Messenger himself got that training from his creator. This is why messengerhood is a special condition. For me, I am in need of someone to walk me through this mindset in action. So this is why Prophet ﷺ has been that example, and he trained students. This is why Quran is also mentioning the importance of Muhammadur Rasulullah walladhina ma'ah. So the ones that were together with the messenger are also being emphasized in Quran. And this lineage is being important. Like the people, they are students, students of students. So now we do have those books, hadith literature that describes us how messenger acts. These are very valuable resources in terms of seeing how a messenger have acted and would act in life. But on top of that, we are in need of a live students of messenger, so that we can adopt this, observe how they live with it, and we adopt it to our lives, so that the goal is to reach this contentment at the beginning that H-Beza was mentioning. So striving to be content and at peace with my existence, we are trying to reach this contentment, saying that, oh, I am being loved by my creator. This is the love that I want to taste. And in that love, I'm going to be confident and content. So in a nutshell, this is what I understand from following the messenger, and how, if I do it, I will realize that I am being loved by my creator. So to go back to Atik's question, it seems that the love by God is conditional love. Yes, pretty much like if you love God, it's also a conditional thing. I think I love myself or my daughter. In fact, the thing that I love is creator, but to me, I don't realize it as such. Likewise, I need to fix this part of the love story. The other part of the love story is also needed to be fixed. I am being loved. This is why I am being, this applies to everyone, even the unbeliever, or this dogs or anything. So we are being loved, but I may not be recognizing this love. I might be feeling like God hates me. So how do I fix this part of the love story too? So in order to fix both sides, I am in need of guidance of the messenger, who had been the beloved of the creator. And by following that footsteps, then I'm going to get to bridge my love towards God and recognizing God's love towards me. So with that, I would like to conclude. And any comments, please, before we conclude for the day? Okay. And we haven't studied the next verse, or even we can talk about the forgive you your sins part. So I'm leaving it to the judgment of next week's presenter. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة.